No opening statement, Larry.
You've added Teoscar and Wong since we last talked to you. How do you feel about the way the team's coming together?
Oh, really excited. The offseason. One of the goals was try to improve the lineup, the depth of the lineup. So getting an opportunity to get Teoscar and Colton in the mix is exciting. And hopefully we're not done yet. We still might be able to add a little bit more. So at this time of year, of course, everybody's focused on adding players and trying to get their club better. And I think we've done a nice job so far.
Scott, we get so hung up on your guys' hitting woes last year, and certainly some chances where you guys had opportunities to score and didn't.
That 18-inning game, I got you.
I wasn't going to mention that, but as you specifically look at the offense last year, other than the obvious scoring more runs, how did you want to kind of go about doing it? Because you got two guys that kind of do it a little different.
Yeah, I think that the consistency, the depth of the lineup, and I think that's what you saw us when we started to get our season turned around. We had the winning streak and then played very well through the second half of the season. We were getting contributions up and down the lineup. For a while, it wasn't that way, and we lost Haniger for a big chunk of the year. So hopefully, having Hernandez healthy throughout the year. I know, Adam Frazier certainly had some really big moments for us, but just the consistency isn't typically what Adam Frazier does. So hopefully, Colton Wong brings some more consistency there, because that's what it takes. Not everybody's going to be going good at the same time, but if you've got enough pieces and enough depth and can keep guys on the field, staying away from injury. We had power with Hernandez. Certainly, Colton Wong's got some power. He's got some on-base skills, and the defense that he brings is really exciting as well. As there's no shift this year.
Scott, you checked off two big boxes with the second baseman and Teoscar. At this stage of the offseason, what would you kind of address as your areas of need?
Well, I think there's still a lot of really good players out there, in free agency, and I think how we're wired, we're always looking to make trades and upgrade different spots. So now it's a point of looking at the combination of pieces. And I think one thing that served us very well last year, we were really versatile. A number of guys can play different positions, which really helps me when you're putting lineups together and trying to keep guys fresh. So, if there was somebody that, could play some outfield, play some first base to help out if Ty France needs a break, things like that, looking to help there, I think.
Scott, do you need a left-handed bat, do you think, to kind of balance it out? I mean, you look at the left-handed bats in your roster right now. It's kind of Wong and JP, and you think you get one switch hitter?
Oh, we have a catcher that's pretty good.
Yeah. That one,
yeah. I don't know, left, right. I mean, you're looking at things. We players, certainly Jared Kelenic still in the mix. Say all that, and he's still a very young player yet, with a left-handed bat with a lot of upside. So, not necessarily certainly sure if it's left or right. Just trying to get the right fit with a guy, and it might be a veteran guy that comes in. We certainly saw the impact that veteran players had with our team last year, with what Upton did for us a little time he was with us, and certainly what Carlos Santana did. So there's a lot of ways to improve about where we're at.
Follow up on that, how do you assess where Jared Kelenic is as a hitter right now, and what are you looking for him moving forward?
Well, I think he's making strides. There's a lot of positives we saw at the end of the year when we called him back up. I thought the quality of his at-bats much more consistent, not trying to do so much. Certainly changed his approach in using the whole field more consistently than maybe what we saw early on. So definitely making strides and progress in the right direction. But we've seen it in chunks. We haven't seen it over the course of time at the major league level. He's done it at the minor league level. And I think the one thing that we got to be cognizant of is continue to give our young players opportunities. Understanding that we're in a window. I really like our team. We've busted through and got to the playoffs, and that is the goal, to get in the playoffs again and go a little deeper. So I say all those things. I still want to give our young players an opportunity to take it and run with it. He'll get the opportunity.
What role do you see him playing for the team next year?
He'll come to spring training and compete for a job.
How do you feel about the way the division is shaping up? You've got the Rangers being aggressive, the Astros again being aggressive, the Angels are making some moves. Is it going to be tougher than ever next year?
It's a good division, and I said, every year you get to spring training and everybody's healthy and everybody's ready to go, and some teams have been more aggressive in free agency than others. And this time of year, it's fans love to follow it. It's the hot stove league, right? They need something to talk about. Some of the things that we've done, we extended Luis Castillo in September. We were out ahead of it a little bit there. Our center fielder's locked up for quite a while. So we've been out ahead of some of those things, but the division is going to be very competitive. To get deeper in the playoffs, you got to go through Houston. I talked about it before this last playoffs. You had to go through Houston. And certainly the other teams are improving. Texas isn't going to stop. new ballpark and very aggressive ownership there. That's part of it. But really like our team. We are driven by our starting pitching and really good bullpen and catching the ball. Just trying to get a little bit better offensively.
You talked about the 18-inning game you mentioned.
Yes.
Going through Houston, you came so close this year. How long did that linger with you, those games? And how?
Pretty long.
Yeah.
I gotta be honest. You put so much of your soul into it, and not just me, but coaching staff, the people in the front office, let alone what our players put into it. So, when you break through, which was critical, we needed to do that this year, and we were able to get it done. And I said at that moment that the team wasn't done. I thought we had the ability to go deep in the playoffs, and unfortunately, we got locked up against the World Series champs. And that was it. But every game was winnable. You can't go back and play them again. You can only look forward, and I think what we'll see is the growth from our team and our players having gone through that is really going to benefit it going forward. I say all that, and every team is different. We saw it this year. We got off to a slow start this year because we just thought maybe we'd have some of the carryover from 2021, and that wasn't the case. Every team kind of has to start over and create your own identity, and I'm looking forward to that. But I think the experience our players gained through the playoffs is going to help us a ton.
Scott, you mentioned your young starting pitching. We talked about their innings throughout last season, but just like with where they're at and how much innings they accumulated, what do you kind of see from a workload standpoint, how you approach their season this year?
They carried the workload just awesome throughout the year. We were very concerned about George, making it through the year. I thought, Logan kind of the dip a little bit into August, but he turned it on in September, which is great to see. And those are the two guys we were worried about. I thought Munoz had plenty in the tank right till the end. So those guys will learn how to manage. And it's not so much the innings load, it's what's going on between the innings. I think Logan adjusted his program quite a bit. George is going to continue to learn as he goes forward. And, the value of young starting pitching is just huge. We got to keep those guys healthy. So I'm not concerned about it going forward. I think the fact that they've checked that box and now they can look on, you say back of the baseball card, now it's Baseball Reference, but they can see that they've made it through a full major league. They've stayed healthy. They put some bulk innings up there, and they can build upon that.
Speaking of young pitchers, what role do you play for your team next year?
A very big role. He's really good. Is he going to be in the bullpen? Right now, I like our starting rotation where we're at. You probably look at him as being in the bullpen. Who knows? You get to spring training. We will stretch him out in spring training a little bit. I just think it helps his development. He work on more pitches versus just going out there and throwing 12 to 15 pitches in an outing. But he's still a young pitcher, and he's got great stuff. And he's the one guy, I think, going through the situations he did, through the stretch in September, then into the playoffs. He learned a ton, and he handled everything thrown at him really well. So he's going to be even better next year.
Scott, the obligatory radio question. The maturity that he showed, obviously the talent is there, but the maturity to full season, some of the people say he's the face of baseball.
You talking about Julio?
Julio.
Okay.
From your perspective as his manager, that first full year, what can you say about that?
Yeah, Julio's season is just, I guess the one word is just wow, is what stands out for me. And I go back to spring training, and we came into spring training, didn't know if he was going to be ready to make the team. And seeing him, go through spring training and kind of take off from there, I'm like, okay, he's ready, let's go. And he got off to a slow start for a couple different reasons. And I said it throughout the year. I keep saying it. That credit to him, and the reason he had the season he had and won the Rookie of the Year is because he didn't panic. A lot of young players panic at that point, and our coaches didn't panic. You have a big-time prospect and he's struggling. You're hitting coaches, okay, we've got to fix this, we've got to change this. We didn't. We kept hands off, understanding that it just wasn't going his way. He wasn't getting a whole lot of breaks, and then it started to turn. And when it turned, he just took it and ran with it. I say all those things. He played great defense throughout the season. He ran the bases outstanding. And the one thing that people don't see on the outside is Julio's a great learner. If he makes a mistake, okay, he's going to talk about it. He learns from it. And it's a great sign for a young player that has that much talent. So, the player himself, you can't ask for a better package. But the thing that separates him is the personality, right? It's the smile on his face. It's what gravitates fans towards him. And he's not afraid of that. Some players don't like the lights on them. He likes when the lights are on. And the brighter they get, the happier he is. And it's very unique to find in today's game. So I said it a little. I said it when we signed him. Like the fact that he's going to be in a Mariners uniform for this many years going forward, great for the organization. It's great for the city of Seattle.
Just one more thing. At 21, to not panic like you just mentioned, what does that say about his maturity, perhaps beyond his years?
Yeah, it says a lot, and I go back to oftentimes you talk about young players and how are they going to handle the adversity or the failure that happens, and it kind of goes back to the environment they were raised in and how they, they had to come through some adversity at some point in their lives, and how did mom and dad react to it? Okay, typically we'll say how they play out, when they get a little bit older or they get on the big stage, and he comes from a very solid family. He just gets it, and I think again, a credit to our coaches, our front office. Nobody panicked. Just let it play out. Let it play out. We know he's really good. And as long as we don't panic, he's not going to panic, and he didn't.
He really wowed you with his speed last year in spring training. What do you maybe envision that he'll show up and wow you with this spring?
The speed really jumped. I did not expect that at all. I mean, I really, going into it, I think everybody projected that he would be a corner outfielder. But seeing him move around in center field and how he ran the bases, I know Julio really wants to keep that as part of his game. I think everybody says, oh, he's going to get older, he's going to slow down. I know for where he's at right now, it's big for him. He still wants to go out and steal 25, 30 bases every year, or maybe more with the rule change. It might open up some things for him there as well. So the speed's a big part of where he's at and his focus this offseason. Don't want to lose any of that at all. And hopefully along the way may gain a few more homers. We'll see.
How much do you think those rule changes are going to change the game and how you manage?
It's going to create more action. It's going to create more offense, which I think is what our game needs. Again, we're in the entertainment business. You need action. That's what fans want to see, and it'll be good for the game. There is going to be a little bit of an adjustment period. I think that the no shift, you'll see the batting average start to raise a little bit. I think the stolen bases. Will you see more attempts? You will see more attempts. I think you will. The home run's still going to be a big part of our game, but you're trying to create a little bit more offense. It's a rule changes that. When they were first brought up, everybody said, no, we can't do that, we can't do that. And I think a lot of people step back and say, no, we have to do this. It's for the betterment of our game. And you're going to continue to see it. You can't just keep playing the same game that they played in the 1940s and 50s. It evolves. We have to evolve with it. And players will adjust. The pitch clock, they'll adjust. It really hasn't been an issue at the minor league level. Once they understand the rules and how it works, players are really good at adjusting.
Got a second base position that will affect the most.
As far as the shift, yeah, I think at times you could hide the second baseman a little bit and how you're moving him around and whatnot. It will. You're going to need the rangier, more athletic guy that can really do those things. And I said something earlier too. I still think there'll be teams out there that'll try to adjust their outfield. And if you've got a guy that can play some infield, he may all of a sudden be in a different spot in the field. And you look up and there's really only two outfielders out there. Teams will play with it. That's what we do. We're looking for the competitive edge. So I don't think anything will surprise us when we get to spring training. A lot of teams will be trying some things out.
People have said that Santana is a guy who could really be benefited by that with the no shift. Is there anyone on your team now that you see could be?
Yeah, I think the guys will benefit most from the lack of the shift will be Jared Kelenic and Cal Raleigh, obviously the left-handed hitters. And those guys pull the ball quite a bit. So I think those guys will be helped out by it. I know Cal will a bunch as well. I think of all the balls he hit hard, where that second baseman's in short right field, and it's an automatic out. On the flip side, our pitchers will be disappointed because I think early on when shifting first came in to the league, we were one of the more aggressive teams early on and had a number of pitchers throughout the years who fought it, did not want it. This is BS. Remember the ones that are caught. They only until this year. You'll see some of that. It's like, where is that guy? Things have changed. There'll be more action.
Scott, Teoscar and they both played on teams with expectations in the past. I mean, the guys you brought in last year had never been in that situation. Do you think that process will be easier to bring them in and get them on board with what you're trying to do? Because Colton played with St. Louis and Teoscar played in Toronto, where there is high expectations every year.
Yeah, I'm excited, not just the fact that they've got really good players, but they do have playoff experience, and they have been through pennant races and had big at-bats, and we certainly saw Hernandez have a couple big at-bats against us in Toronto. So they've been on that stage, and I think both those guys look forward to that, and I think that's one of the reasons they're excited to come to the Mariners is we have proven we can break through. We are a playoff team. They look at our roster on paper, and we should be in a good spot again, but you got to go out and play, and one thing with those guys is, they do have experience. They've had success in the league, and there's some things I think we can help them with, and being a little bit more consistent. I know Colton wants to get on some things, and Teoscar as well, but they're looking forward to being part of a playoff team, and I think we have every opportunity, and expectations are there for us to get back.
How much of an outlier do you think Colton's defensive issues were the last maybe year and a half compared to the years before?
Yeah, he's very aware of it. And I know after we acquired him, guess who his first call was to? It was to Perry Hill. And Perry does an outstanding job with our guys. I think everybody in the league knows he's one of the better infield coaches in the league. And Colton wants to get back to that elite level and win a Gold Glove again. It's in there. There's no question it's in there. Hitters get into little slumps. Sometimes fielders get into slumps. And it wasn't really so much lack of range. He made a few more errors on balls he shouldn't have been errors, and he's aware of that. And whether it's a fundamental thing, it's lack of concentration, whatnot. He's excited to get back out there and be at that Gold Glove caliber, and he and JP should be fun to watch in the middle of the field.
Hey, Scott, you guys have always been very cognizant of not burdening your catchers by, you talk about wanting to not split it necessarily, but you don't want a guy catching 140 games. I think that era is now passed us by. That being said, you rode Cal pretty hard last year, and he looks like a guy that can handle that. How would you envision maybe this shaking out this year?
That's a good question. I think, Cal, with all the issues he had down the stretch with his thumb, we really gutted it out. So he can play, not at 100% and still produce. And he learned a lot going through that. I think, looking over the course of the season, you want to keep guys fresh. And that's, having a versatile roster, having another catcher you can put in there so you don't have to run him out, 5 out of 6 days, or playing, an entire week consecutively. How the backup catching position works out. We'll have some guys very capable of stepping in and, catching 70 games, 65 games, something like that. And we get going hot with the bat, you know how it works. You get a little bit more playing time, and a lot of it's dictated by schedule and day games and whatnot. So I think keeping it at a realistic number so we don't lose the offensive production that Cal can give you, I think is going to be key for us.
Swanson played a real key role.
Yeah, he did.
Do you see someone sliding into that role?
Matt Brash was not a reliever with us all year, if you remember.
Yeah.
So, certainly Matt, now, he did take on a lot of those high leverage innings in the playoffs, maybe more so than what Swanee did. But he's certainly capable of taking some of that on. And I think every year, you look at bullpens, and bullpens, there's some guys you count on. They're really good one year, and maybe they fall back a little bit and somebody else steps up. And for us, it's been coming from our minor league system. And I think we have a couple other guys there that people don't know about yet. They could end up playing roles for us as next year. I mean, a year ago, Penn Murphy on anybody's, people don't know. But that's the value of a deep organization and having guys at the AA, AAA level, and maybe given in the right spot. If you use them in the right pockets, this guy could really be valuable for us. And from what I understand, we've got some of those guys lined up.
Scott, you said you have the Astros to where you want. As presently constructed right now, do you have the roster capable of it, or do you need to add more to really go toe-to-toe with that team and take the division?
We went through a very competitive series with them at the end of the year, and you're basically one swing of the bat in each game away from winning it. Now, you got to, over the course of the season, the goal is to win the division. No question about it. There are multiple games ahead of us, in the division. So we got to get better offensively. Do they have the roster right now? I believe we do. Doesn't mean I don't want to add to it. You know what I mean? And every team's going to continue to try to add, whether it's role players or different guys that could add something to your lineup. And really what we're talking about is offensively for us. Just more consistent is what we're looking for. But I feel good about our team. I like the moves we've made so far. Teams are going to continue to make moves this offseason, but the games are played in April. They're not played in January and December.
You got Verlander out of your division today. Any
yes,
thoughts
we did.
on that?
We faced Justin 7 times, I think, last year.
Six. Yeah.
Okay. I think we actually hit him twice. The other times he shut us down. So, an unbelievable year for him. So, I say all that, and Houston's got plenty of pitching. I don't think anybody feels sorry for him.
On the other hand, you got DeGrom into your divisions.
True. But we only play the Rangers, I think, 4 times this year. So, we won't see them 6 or 7.
Scott, have you heard of a Japanese pitcher, Senga? And if you have, what's your impression of him?
Yes, I have heard of him. I know our scouting people, front office people have talked about him quite a bit. Very talented pitcher, no question about it. But that's not really my job, is to break down the free agents out there. My job is to work with what we sign and bring in, so we'll see how it plays out for him. But very talented pitcher, no question about it.
Do you know yet if Castillo's going to pitch for the Dominican and the WBC, and are you guys going to monitor that pretty closely?
I'm talking to the general manager for the WBC. That would be Nelson Cruz. I don't know if there's too many managers that want to see their pitchers run off and pitch in the WBC, but the WBC is an event. It's something that brings a ton of interest. The players are really into it. From a personal note, I don't want to see any of our pitchers go, but I understand some of them will. On Luis Castillo's situation, I don't think that one's been ironed out yet, and I'll let Jerry and Nelson Cruz work on that one out. But biggest thing is get our guys healthy and ready to go on opening day, and I would love to hand the ball to Luis Castillo in that first series and have him ready to go. Not having to worry about anything else beforehand.
Scott, how much are you anticipating? How many guys you could lose to the WBC?
We could lose a
Obviously, your
bunch.
Center fielder probably.
Yeah. I think we could lose a bunch. There's no question. I think there's maybe some other guys, maybe on the edges. I know like Matt Fest is a guy that wants to pitch in WBC. We'll lose a few of our minor league players. Harry Ford will probably play in the WBC. A talented prospect that we have. So, we could lose 4 or 5 guys to that. Teoscar could be on the Dominican team. I mean, there's guys that are going to pop up and play at different spots. We just have to wait and see when all the rosters are set. Right now, every team's got like 50 guys they're carrying. We know that's going to get trimmed down, and we'll deal with it at that time.